Hello everyone, I am Shantanu from automation team of Cyborg. So I hope most of you have gone through the Notion link where we have provided the schedule like in which week what topics we are going to cover. Just let me give a brief idea about that. The first 3 weeks are related to programming languages C and Python. The fourth week is related to Arduino coding, and fifth and sixth week are related to web development. Okay, I hope you will enjoy the entire series of great classes. Now, quickly, let's go through the first module, which is C programming. Okay, so C language. We say that C language is a general purpose programming language. Okay, let me say about programming. Okay, programming means the procedure in which we write computer programs. And what are computer programs? These are certain instructions for the computers which are written in a specific format following certain rules which are referred to as syntax. Okay, every language has its own syntax, but the computer understands only certain set of languages like C, Java, and Python. For example, while having this conversation, I am using English language. And English language has its own rules, which we call as English grammar. I am trying to follow that rule in order to have a conversation with you. Similarly, for a programmer, while writing a program, he or she has to follow certain rules, and those rules are known as syntax. By using those rules, he can write an executable program which, when run, the desired output can be obtained from that. Okay. C language is widely used in variety of applications, starting from the operating systems like Windows, Linux, or Mac OS to the embedded systems in microcontroller or microprocessor programmings. Okay. They are also used in databases like MySQL and Oracle, also used for designing compilers and interpreter. For example, the Python interpreter is written in C language. Okay. So the wide range of application, the reason behind this wide range is because of the features of C. Okay, C is very simple, the syntax are easy to understand, and the programs are also easy to write. And further, it has the nature of portability. By portability I mean write once, use it everywhere. Okay, suppose I have a program, I mean a C program written in Windows operating system. I can take that program, run it in the Linux operating system without any change. Okay, so because of this portability nature also, it is widely used. Further, the C program is quite structured, and it is also procedural language. By procedural I mean each and every step instruction, like each and every line of the entire code is checked by the compiler, and if the compiler finds any error, it suggests the programmer to correct it. Okay, and then we can rectify the program and can run it to obtain the desired output. And further, it has very rich library. Okay, the like several user predefined functions are available in the header files. For example, the stdio.h, it is a header file. It contains the most commonly used output function, the printf. Okay, so in this manner, there are several other header files also, which provides us many I mean predefined functions. Okay. Again, one more feature is that C language is very fast. Okay. The reason behind is that it allows us to directly manipulate the computer hardware and also helps in efficient memory management. These two features actually uh, helps for the program to execute within a fraction of seconds. Further, there is the concept of pointers. By pointer, we can easily locate the memory address. Okay, suppose there are certain variables which have been created in the computer, like computer memory. We can easily refer to the address of those variables and change the data contained in them with the help of pointers. Okay, pointers are very vast applications. Okay, uh, because of all these features, they are widely used. Okay, In order to write a C program, you need to have a compiler. Okay, so what's actually the use of compiler? The compiler actually checks whether the program that you have written is in accordance with the syntax of the C language or not. Okay, so you do need to have a compiler, and if the after checking the program whether it is correct or not, you need to run it also. The compiler also performs that job. So for whether it is operating system, like whether it is Windows operating system or Linux, you do need a compiler. Generally Linux and Mac OS comes with pre-installed C and Python compilers, but once check whether it is available or not. If not, you can go to this link, and it is a very good tutorial link. You can easily download and install the compiler. There is also a second option. Okay, if you do not wish to install the compiler, you can just copy paste this link in any web browser. That will land up in a online compiler. Okay, there will be a text editor. You can write your code there itself and obtain the output also. No worries. Even if you don't install a compiler, the program gonna work. So first we need to understand what are identifiers. Okay, identifiers are actually the names which are given to the entities like variables, functions. Okay, for example, let's go through this example. Here it is the variable money is declared as int money. Okay, so money is actually a variable, and the variable name is money. So this money is actually the identifier. Identifier is actually the name given to the variable. Money's nature is variable, and it is of the data type integer. Okay, um, but what is int? It is actually keyword. Okay, so what are keywords? Keywords are predefined or reserved words. Okay, and they have their own special meanings, and these keywords cannot be used as identifiers. Okay, there are also several other rules for naming identifiers. For example, like there is no restriction about how much, the length of the identifier. Okay, and you can use both uppercase, lowercase letters. Digits are also allowed, but only one special character is allowed, and that is underscore. And there's also one more rule: the first letter of an identifier cannot be a digit. That is, it should start either with uppercase letter, lowercase letter, or an underscore. Okay. And further, as I have already said, you cannot use the keywords as identifiers. Okay. C language has around 32 keywords. So these keywords have, these are the reserved words, and they have their own special meanings which cannot be changed. If you are trying to use these keywords as identifiers, then the compiler will throw an error. Talking about the variables. Okay, variables are actually the containers in which the data can be stored. Okay, for defining for defining a variable or declaring a variable, we need to specify the data type also. For example, here int play score equal to 95. The play score is a variable, and it is of data type int. Int refers to integer data type, and since here 95 is initialized, the place score variable will hold a value of 95. Same is the case here. Ch is a variable of char type. Char means character, and it is holding value a. Okay, but in the next line the value of the variable is changed. Now the ch is holding the letter l instead of a. But if you do not wish to change the value of the variable throughout the program, then you can make use of the word const. Okay, during the declaration itself, if you are using this word, this keyword const, for example, const double pi equal to 3.14, throughout the program you cannot change the value of the variable. Even if you try to change the value of the variable, that will give you an error. Okay, so if you wish to declare some variables whose value needs to be constant, so you can make use of this keyword const. Now coming to data types. Okay, data types refers to the type of value that can be stored in the variable. Okay, during the variable declaration itself, we need to specify the data type of the variable. So there are several data types in C, like three sets of data types actually: primitive data types, derived data types, and user-defined data types. Primitive data types are divided into integer type, floating point values, character type, okay, and also void type. We'll talk about void. And derived data types are array, structure, union, okay. User defined are enum constants and type def. By type def we actually change the name of the structures or unions, okay. So we can say that they are user defined data types. Further, there are something called as specifiers and modifiers. They are used along with the primitive data types. Okay, these actually change the the range or the type of data. Okay, for example, when you are specifying short or long, as here short int, this will actually reduce the range of integer values that a variable can hold. If you are using long int, wide range of integer values can be used, like can be stored in a particular variable. So in that manner, these specifiers specify the range of the values which can be stored in a variable. For the modifiers, okay, so modifiers means they actually modify the variable, like they modify the container itself. And they say, for example, if I say unsigned long int, okay, unsigned long int means int, the variable is of integer data type, okay, and since long is specified, it can store a wide range of integer values, but not but, it's and, okay, and those values are unsigned, okay. Plus values, like positive values, can also be stored, negative values can also be stored. But if I'm specifying signed values, they only they will follow a cycle, okay, like 0 to 255, okay, and after 255, mm, for character I will say, there is something called as ASCII values, okay. So they will follow the cyclic order, okay, 0 to 255, and further after 255 there will not be any something called as 256, okay. If we increment the variable of having a value of 255, then it will end up to 0, okay. So these are actually signed values. It has only positive numbers, okay. So most important thing is void. Void refers to empty data type or nothing or no type. These are generally used for the functions. Okay, functions have something called as return type. Like after performing certain set of operations, the function gives back some output. Okay, gives back some values. This process is called as returning. Okay, for example, if you have a function to add two numbers, so it will return the result. If the two numbers are integer, then it will return the integer type value. So there the return type is it. But what if the function is not returning any value? Okay, so the return type has to be specified as void, so that the compiler will know, yes, this function is not going to return any value. Okay, so primitive data types. So this is the list of primitive data types: int, char, float, double are the basic types, and then after using specifiers and modifiers we can lengthen the list. These are the size. So integer, here at least two, usually four, means like 32-bit system generally have 2 byte size for integer type, but 64-bit has 4 byte for integer data type, okay. You don't need to remember this, okay. Eventually, after doing a lot of programming, like it will remain in your mind, okay, don't worry. But yes, you need to remember this format specifiers and have to use space, like only for referring to integer values or integer variables, you can use only percentage d and percentage I, okay. So yes, these you need to remember. Don't worry, I'll provide you this the slides. You can just read it or revise it later. Okay, so these are the format specifiers. You go through them once again later. So coming to the input output functions in C. Since I have already said the header files, okay, header files are actually .h extension files, okay. There are many header files, stdio.h, okay, and string.h, math.h, okay. These header files actually contains the predefined functions. For example, stdio.h has the most commonly used printf function, okay. This printf function is used to output, is used for output functions, okay. For example, I want to display a string as output, okay. So I need to write that string in double quotes within the printf functions. Here the string is C programming, so I get the output as C programming. But what if I like to display a number or the value which is present in a variable? Here comes the usage of format specifier. See, for example, here I need to print the value that is present in test integer, and test integer is of integer data type. So percentage %d format specifier has to be used. What happens when in a particular string which is written inside the printf function, format specifier are used, then it searches for the same type of variables, okay. Percentage %d, it's a format specifier for integer type, then it searches for integer variables. So it searches and it gets test integer, okay. So it checks whether it is integer type or not, and yes, it is integer type. Then what happens, the value of this variable um, um, gets stored here in place of this character, that is percentage %d, and we get the string as number equal to 5. Here is the output, you can verify. Similar is the case for float and double also. For float we use percentage %f, so 13.5, we get 13.5 and 5 extra zeros. These extra zeros are due to the precision, okay. Floating point values generally have 6 like precision is 6 decimal digits, okay. If you are using long float means the precision will further increase, okay. So for double we have the format specifier percentage %lf. Similarly for character we use the percentage specifier percent and percentage %c, okay. Here chr is having the value a, I mean the storing the letter a. So while using percentage %c, you will get the result as character is equal to the value presented chr, and that is letter a, okay. So you do need to remember the format specifiers. Coming to the input function, we use scanf function to take input from the keyboard. So it has also some syntax. Let me tell you the syntax through an example, okay. For example, you need to take in an integer as input. So here also you need to use format specifiers. Integers format specifier is percentage %d. So you need to like enclose the percentage %d in a double quote, followed by the address of the variable where you want to store. The n% operator gives us the address of the variable. So n% followed by the variable name, that will give us the address, and in that address the value that you are giving as input from the keyboard, that value will be stored, okay. So here n percentage test integer will collect the value of 4 which has been entered from the keyboard, and then printf function, when we try to print the value that is present in test integer, we get the result as 4, okay. So this is how it works. Similar also for float and double input, okay. So for float we use percentage %f, for double we use percentage %lf, nothing different. Yeah, for character we have already discussed, it's percentage %c, so scanf percentage %c and percentage %chr. Here I have entered G, so the output you're getting is also G. You entered G, okay. Yeah, you need to keep this in mind. ASCII value, every character has certain ASCII value, okay. I said that 256 characters are there, 0 to 255, okay. Each and every character has its own ASCII value and it is unique also. How to know the ASCII value? Okay, so if you use %c, then you will get what character is stored in that variable. But instead of using %c, if you use %d and try to print the value of the variable, then you will get the corresponding ASCII value. See, here we have entered the value in the letter G. So G is stored in CHR, but G has an ASCII value of 103. That's why ASCII value is it is showing 103. Similarly, capital A has ASCII value of 65, small a has ASCII value of 97, small z has an ASCII value of 122. Okay, you just need to remember if you like capital A to capital Z, small a to small z, and 0 to 90 has an ASCII value of 48. Okay, scanf also allows you to take multiple values, okay, from the keyboard, I mean. So for that, if like here you are trying to take an integer followed by a float, then you must write %d %f and then specify the address of the variable. Like this is the address of integer variable, this is the address of floating point variable. So, coming to the operators, what are operators? These are actually special symbols, which tells the compiler to perform certain operations on the variables or other operands. Okay, the variables or the values on which the operations are being performed, they are referred to as operands. Okay, there are different types of operators: arithmetic, relational, logical, bitwise, increment, decrement, assignment operators. Let's go through each of them in detail. First is arithmetic operators. So those operators which allow us to perform mathematical or arithmetic calculations like addition, subtraction, multiplication, they are called as arithmetic operators. This is the list for arithmetic operators: plus, minus, into. Yeah, for multiplication asterisk is used, division, and in order to get the remainder after division, percentage